Friends, if you have an athletic goal or want to supercharge your athletic performance, then we have the episode for you. Welcome to Sage Health TV. I'm Barry Napier.
Hi, I'm Dr. Angela Yegley.
And today we're talking about
NAD therapy in athletes. So,
what is NAD?
Yes, what is NAD? Thank you. Okay, so
besides being a super hyper energy molecule, that's what I like to say.
Yes, it's amazing. So, it stands for, I'll just say it, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. Okay, you don't
It's a mouthful. You never have to say that again.
You never have to say that or hear that again. Okay, NAD. So it is a form of vitamin B3 that actually is basically one of our pure energy molecules. So if you've heard of ATP, which now you're going to see it everywhere, it's on energy drinks like ATP Fuel and workout powders, things like that. NAD feeds ATP. So again, and also in its own right has energy, it gives energy to the cells. So.
And when we're talking about NAD, almost exclusively we're talking about it as an IV therapy.
Absolutely.
Versus something where you can take it as a pill form. So I have seen there are some pill forms of NAD, but we're talking about IV nutrient therapy, which is particularly effective because we'd be taking it through an IV, and it, of course, goes right then into our cells, right into our body.
Absolutely.
Bypasses the gut.
Yes. So I would say the effects that we're seeing here, generally, we're talking about IV NAD. You can take it orally. In fact, if you're doing the IV therapy, certainly you can add a daily supplement of NAD as well. It's just not going to be absorbed nearly as well, and the effects are not going to be, you're not going to notice the same thing with just oral NAD. So.
I see here one of the things that you wanted to talk about, because it's important, is that NAD decreases as we age.
Yeah. So for everyone.
In like so many things.
Yes.
It gets hit with the age whammy stick.
Yeah, exactly.
Whammy.
Yeah.
Wrinkles, whammy, college, whammy, brain function, so many things.
Yeah.
But the NAD also decreases as we age.
Exactly. And with stress. So that could be anything, right? So of course aging is a stress, but also any other sort, if you have any other conditions, medical, conditions you're dealing with, or just stress in your life, that can even physical, mental, emotional stress, like any of those things, or poor diet is a stressor, right?
Yeah, and I think for all of us over the last few years, stress levels have been particularly high, just even in general, right? So
absolutely.
I think about in the 2020 plus, the last 3 years have been very high stress years.
Stress. It's very unusual.
Weird times.
Yeah, very weird time. And I think a lot of people are still absolutely recovering from this time.
Still stressed.
It's still stressed, yeah.
There's still a lot to be stressed about. If you still care about anything in the world, I can't really anymore. Because it's like around 2022, I just couldn't care anymore because it was all ending anyway.
It's
a
lot going on. Yeah, it's a lot happening in the world. Yeah.
So you probably need NAD. That's the whole punchline. Is you probably need it.
Yeah. I would say probably if we get down to it, like literally everybody.
Everyone needs NAD.
We will talk about though why in athletes it's coming
except
up
like
here.
little babies.
Yeah. Babies are perfect. Yeah.
So for athletes in particular, if you have and by athletes we're talking like you work out, it's not, this isn't just like pro level athletes, although at that level we will see a lot of use of this in pro level athletes.
Exactly. Yes.
But anybody who's like if you run, if you lift, if you do CrossFit, if you have those kind of fitness goals, whatever thing you're doing, this can help fuel your athletic performance and really give you additional healing, additional energy output, all kinds of really great benefits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so kind of starting out, I figured we'd talk about like NAD for everyone. You don't actually have to be an athlete or working out to get benefit from this.
You should take it anyways.
You should take it anyways. You should do it anyways, especially if you have a lot of fatigue. So what does it do? So starting out first, like what does it do for everybody, whether you are focused on your athletic performance or not? It's really going to work on healing of the particular cells in the tissues and our mitochondria. So mitochondria are energy producing cells, basically.
Little engines in your cells.
Little engines, right. They look like amoebas in our cells, right?
Little energy amoebas running around in your cells.
They look like amoebas, literally. And so it, because they are responsible for making the energy that fuels our body, NAD will help to clean up, detoxify the mitochondria, as well as improve the energy that's actually being released from the mitochondria, improve ATP levels as well. So you now have two forms of your energy molecules that are being upregulated. And so then what does that do? So you do get actually healing of the tissue, you get improved detoxification. So this could be important if you've been exposed to something, if you have mold toxicity, if you have been exposed to metals, which we all have, like lead and mercury, mercury fillings, just detox of anything. Medications, maybe you've been on a lot of medications recently, and so you want it out of your system. So it's going to help all of that. It's going to clean up the cells, right? So what we also see, and there's been a lot of research on this, again, not necessarily related to athletic performance, but helpful, is improvement in cognitive or brain performance.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I was going to say, when I'm on NAD, I just have gotten a treatment that day, and then the following days after, from just a neurological standpoint, a brain standpoint, I feel like things are firing faster. And then as it translates to athletics, I feel like those athletic expressions can happen easier, right? So it's like, it's just the body and brain sync.
Yeah.
Just happens a little bit quicker, right?
Yes,
so it just kind of brings everything together. Those synapses fire better, and that nervous system seems to be working better as well.
Yes, exactly. So, and I think you hit the nail on the head that, neurologically, actually, it's really helps the nervous and neurological system. So it's used a lot with actual, like, say if there's MS or Parkinson's, things like that, or just other dysfunction of the nervous system where you need assistance. And so, say if you're an athlete and maybe you have some other things that are you're working with cognitively, or your brain, nervous system, this also fantastic treatment for you. Or if you're tired, right?
Yeah.
So if even you're trying to work out, you really love working out, but you find yourself exhausted, right? So it's going to push you to the next level.
Yeah, and if you're an athlete or in athletic type of scenarios where you require some kind of like that athletic skill expression where the brain body does need to sync up, and there are those kind of wired skills. I'm thinking even like a CrossFit competition, a number of those kind of Olympic lifts. Certainly anybody, if you're golfing, baseball, any of those traditional sports that require a complex interaction of motor and neuron skills too, all syncing up and firing correctly to, get the ball in the basket or, whatever, get the weight overhead coordination. NAD is, a legal thing that you can use. Yes. It's legal. It's not a banned sports substance.
Right. Right.
So you can supplement with that prior to a big game day or big competition, and it could give you a little bit, help put you in that zone and give you a little bit of an edge.
Absolutely, yeah. So actually, maybe we'll talk about the other benefits for athletes, and then I'd love for you to talk a little bit about just your experience with NAD and then lifting or something like that. So what is really cool in the research now, specifically for athletes, people who are working out or doing exercise, is that what we see is increase recovery time, increase healing, compared to placebo groups, athletes who are using NAD recover much, much faster. Also, what they found in the studies that there is a definite improvement in strength. There's an improvement in endurance. And this can be, even they notice it with one treatment, and you're going to get even further results when you're doing like multiple
series of treatments. Like anything, it benefits from a series, a stacking series.
Yeah, absolutely. And say if there's been injury, this is really interesting, that if you've had an injury, which say all athletes are going to have something happen at some point, right? The recovery is much, much faster whenever NAD is introduced into kind of the recovery and treatment series.
And I can say from my personal experience, as a lifter, as a strength, I'm going to call myself a strength athlete, I'm not competing. I'm, if I was going to use that term, which we all should use the term athlete if we are being athletic. But as a strength athlete, I find that the days where I've had NAD, so that afternoon, evening, after say treatment, and then into the next 2 days, my strength performance absolutely goes up. So weights that maybe were pushing the envelope the prior week will definitely, I've experienced it, and I've sent you text messages before where I've been like, oh man, that weight went up so easy today or whatever. Awesome. And so I definitely recommend it for strength increase. And just recently I have a kind of a partial muscle tear issue that I'm dealing with. And so be utilizing NAD as part of my treatment protocol to speed that healing up. So I'll have more to report back on that.
Yeah. And of course, when you have like a treatment of one, right, in a particular, sometimes it's hard to see like, oh, well, maybe just Barry recovers faster,
right.
But, I mean, again, in the studies, they see that consistently, right? So if you have an injury, you know, even like tendonitis, a muscle tear,
strains,
any or fasciitis, like kind of the whole list of potential injuries, even kind of post-surgery, right? You know, it can be used for that too, if you've had to have an actual repair of a tendon or a ligament, something like that.
A break, you know, that's great part to help speed up the healing process, help you in that recovery.
Exactly. And then I was going to say competition, right? Competitions, right? So your potential to perform, I don't know, is that I guess you might want to check with your games, right? I don't know.
I think it is.
It's a competitive edge.
It's a super hyper energy molecule.
Yeah. Yes.
That's not illegal. It's not banned.
Right.
You know, it's like taking.
It's just a B vitamin. It's a form of B vitamin, so it's like taking your Bs, right? So I would say, you know, you're probably in the clear.
Hey, listen, you're utilizing science to produce a better result. You know what? If it's in the guidelines, that's A-okay.
Oh, absolutely. So yeah, always check with your competition or regulations, rules, all of that to make sure that you can do IV, you know, vitamin therapy before a competition. But I would say for the most part, what I've read is that most of them do not exclude it, you know, but for you, make sure.
Yeah, double check.
Yeah, double check. So lastly, I just want to talk about what would it look like? You're like, yes, I'm ready. I'm ready to do IV NAD therapy. Like, what does a treatment time look like? So part of that depends on the dose that we're using, right? So standard for IV therapy, IV NAD therapy, I should say, is that it's a longer treatment. Now, once you've had experience with it in your body, many times we'll say like Barry's experience with now with NAD, that he can drip a lot faster, like, you know.
A lot of times it's a slow, long drip for
people. Yes,
people.
For most people.
That's the standard protocol.
Yeah.
Sometimes you also start with a lower dose at a faster drip rate to see again how, but generally that's what's going to be prescribed by most people. We found that depending on tolerance levels, you can drip a quite large dose at a pretty much standard fast drip rate.
Yeah.
So like I'm talking like under an hour, like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Without any negative side effects.
Yeah, absolutely. So the things you'd be watching out for are like, so the things that we check in with people about are like, for some people it can speed up their heart. So as it's coming in, and that can feel uncomfortable even though there's nothing negative that's happening with the heart, right? It's not hurting you in any way. But sometimes that can feel a little uncomfortable or just unusual, you know, that your heart's being sped up. And for some people, it's very interesting. They'll get a little bit of a temporary muscle spasm, and it tends to happen in the chest. So I don't think that happened to you, but that also can be at the top of the list, which is really normal. It is not heart attack, right? You're not, again, having anything negative happen with your heart. But that is kind of the rate limiting factor that a lot of people look for, as they're like, ooh, I'm feeling that chest tightness, you know, so now the drip rate needs to come down a little bit. And that's really, really normal. Or just feeling like, you know, I call it the whoosh.
Yeah. I said whoosh.
Yeah.
Oh, the whoosh is coming, because it kind of feels like, you can feel it come in, and it does kind of feel like a whoosh, like whoa.
Yeah. And for some people that feels a little, it's
freak
unusual.
You out. Yeah, exactly.
So they want to slow it down, and that's totally fine too. Or if you're fine with it, you're like, woo, okay, here it comes.
It goes away after like a few minutes.
Yeah, like then you're like, yeah, just keep it dripping. So depends on the dose. Typically we do work you up. And then we do have some maximum doses that are really high, but, you know, we certainly can go there. And the higher the dose, you know, you're going to have more impact. So
super soldier serum.
Yeah. And then I really certainly you can have one, but I would say really if you're going to do it, I would say 4. A commitment of like 4 treatments, like 1 a week or 1 every 10 days, 1 every 2 weeks for 4 treatments for sure.
Yeah. Both from either from a treatment or rehabilitative, or if you want to talk about optimized performance, really any of those scenarios, all of those scenarios. But that's where we'd be looking at, say, like that 4-block treatment series leading up and kind of leading you through that journey. Absolutely.
They build upon each other. And the other thing I would say is I really like to add it to, or I want it to be in conjunction with, hair somewhere, with IV vitamins, like other vitamins, your minerals, the other Bs, right? So helpful.
This is part of usually a personalized cocktail formula that we'll put together for you that really can dial into your deficiencies and needs and kind of bolster your system up and help speed up that repair. Some things are standard, but we really like to customize this, and also really like to add in glutathione as well.
Love it.
So the
it's
glutathione, the IV, plus the NAD, high dose NAD is crazy awesome.
It's crazy awesome. It's so good. So if you want crazy awesome,
if you want crazy awesome in your life, now you know where to find it.
Yeah. Please, or if you have questions, absolutely reach out to us. I'd love to answer them. And thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time.